Okay, I have two favorite women here. I can't even begin to express how much they're my favorites because I'm on Facebook with them. I read all their posts and everything else. One of them I read, and then the other one I read and bother. She knows who she is. I've called her like 3 or 4 times. And she's my closer today because she's just that wonderful. But then I have 2 closers because the other one is just that wonderful. I can't take it anymore. Jennifer J. Reed. Where are you? Oh my God. UNLV Sociology PhD student. Now I have to say to you, I know Jennifer is my friend. When I first met her at the previous Rally for Rights, I asked her and she said, I'll be there. And that was it. That was it. And then when I saw her, all I could think of was like in the mid-1970s, she was all decked out like a hippie. And I just fell in love. And then we got to talk. And then she made her speech, at which point I'm walking away.
Hello. So why are we here today? What do we want?
Women's rights!
When do we want them?
Now!
What do we want?
Now! Right!
When do we want them?
Now!
All right, awesome. Now that we've got that piece out of the way. Yes, we're here today because the Equal Rights Amendment is way overdue. It was written, I was just shocked when I looked back at when the Equal Rights Amendment was written in 1923, shortly after women got the right to vote. And we are now in 2014. I'm like, really? So I agree with a lot of the earlier speakers, and I'm thankful to be in company of such wonderful people that have been invited to speak before me, and I'm thankful to be here to speak to you today as well. I agree that this has a lot to do with power and power dynamics, and that the only way we're gonna get past some of what's happening as far as the war on women is to pass this Equal Rights Amendment. We are one of 15 states that have not ratified in Nevada the Equal Rights Amendment. It would take 3 more states at this point to ratify. So 3 more states does not seem like a lot. But we've run up against, there's been a couple states that have got it through one of their houses, but then not through the other house. So there's been a lot of blockage going on. So because this is a matter of the legislature, I would invite everybody to get involved with the legislature here. One thing that's great about our state in Nevada is that we have a small amount of legislators because we have a relatively small population. We're actually, we have the 3rd smallest legislature of all the states across the United States. So we have 63 legislators. We have 42 people in the Assembly, and we have 21 people in the Senate. So we're lucky in the fact that these people, there's a fewer number of them, but they're also very accessible. One thing I have to say about this state that I found, my home state that I was born in was Ohio. So we had a lot larger legislature in Ohio. So here I've got to say we have a smaller number of legislators, but they're quite available. I've found that, you're going to have some that don't really want to talk to you, but I found that overall, for the most part, most of them are available. So I would encourage at whatever level you can get involved in the legislative process as a citizen. That's our rights as citizens, all right? The legislature is supposed to represent us, so we need to be involved in that process. So our legislature here, as I said, we have 63 representatives, and they're very available. So if, whenever you're able to, go to town hall meetings that have to do with issues that you care about, such as women's rights, such as gender rights, such as sexual rights, such as sex education, which is a big issue as far as women's rights. Please get involved, because we have a lot of legislators that show up at these events, and they actually do listen, because I know there's a lot of concern with people that our politicians just don't listen to us at all. There's so much money in politics that nobody listens at all. There's some truth as far as issues with money in politics, absolutely, and that's something that I think needs to be addressed. But it is not true that our legislators don't listen to us at all, and that we can't have a voice if we bring our voices in big enough numbers. So I would encourage everybody to get involved. I know it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like our voices don't matter, but every little piece does matter. So every person that's involved makes a difference. So like I said, go to town hall meetings. And I know everybody has a different available schedule as far as how much you can get involved, and I totally appreciate that because I'm a mother, I'm now a grandmother. I went back to do my PhD once my kids were graduated from high school because it's really hard to do a lot of things when you're raising children. So I do understand that. So get involved at whatever level you are able to for your particular situation that you're in. So I mean, at the very least, we have a very accessible legislative website in this state as well. It has a great place where you can give feedback on bills that are introduced into the House or the Senate, or into the Assembly or the Senate. So I would encourage people to look at the website that we have here in this state. I put mine on my favorite list so that I can always pull it up very quickly. I want to give the actual website to people to get on and to bug your legislators. I say bug, lobby, whatever. But it's important to stay involved and to give feedback at whatever level, and every little bit counts. And again, like I said, I know it can feel really overwhelming. There's times where I'm like, I don't know if it makes any difference. But then eventually, you know, I'll have somebody say, hey, I heard you talk about this, or hey, this influenced the way I thought about this. I mean, I've heard that so many times at points where I felt like it doesn't matter, you know, it maybe isn't mattering, or that I'm so burnt out, or that I'm ready to give up. But then I hear someone say, hey, this made a difference. And you never know when that point is going to be. So just keep on keeping on, whatever you believe in your heart. Go out there and fight for it. It's never a lost cause unless we give up and don't let our voices go out there. All right? So let's see, legislative site. All right, it's a www.leg, as in leg, .state.nv for Nevada.us. So I would encourage everybody to put that particular website on their favorites so that they can pull it up really easily and look at what's going on, look at where you can weigh in your voice if you're not able to possibly like go in person, that you can still weigh in virtually, because most people have internet connection at this point in time. I realize there's some people that still don't, but go to your library if you don't have internet connection, and go to your public library and, you know, go and put your voice in through the legislative process there. Twitter is another great thing that we've seen. I got sold in Twitter in 2011 when I began lobbying in the state with education budget cuts that were happening. So I went up to the legislature with a number of students that camped out on the lawn. We took a bus up, and as most of you know that are Las Vegas citizens here, it's a long way to go up to our state capitol up in Carson City. So we did get a bus, and we took a number of hardcore activists up, and we camped out on the lawn to protest the budget cuts that were happening. And we went in and we learned about our legislative process. We woke up in the morning and went in and went to all the meetings, talked to our legislators, learned about lobbying. We did all that. But one thing I learned through that was also the power of something that was fairly new at that time with social media called Twitter. So Twitter, I was really impressed to see that we were all encouraged to make accounts on Twitter and to put down something that we wanted worked on, you know, as far as education, how we felt about things or what we wanted to see, and to use a hashtag. So hashtags are, you use a pound symbol, and then a hashtag is something that will, kind of like a keyword that will identify what you're, you know, what kind of subject you're talking about. So what I saw was people were using the hashtag NVLEG. So hashtag NVLeg. So we would do like little tweets and hashtag them NVLeg. Everybody would have their own account, and usually you put a picture of yourself on your account to identify who you are. So I made my own little Twitter account, and we were doing some of these little NVLeg tweets. And when we went into the building and we were talking to legislators, we had legislators coming up to us, and I remember a legislator coming up to me and saying, "You're Jennifer Reed. I read your tweets." And I was like, holy crap, this is powerful. And there were tweets that were read during the legislative hearings and they were addressing questions that were given to them over Twitter. So these are very powerful tools that we have that weren't there not too long ago, that are that are available to us now to engage when we can't. We were using this when we were there physically, but I was thinking, wow, I can go back to Vegas like 8+ hours away from here and use this tool as if I'm right in the same room. So this is really powerful, you know. And now they recognize me through seeing my face on Twitter and then seeing my name. This is powerful stuff. These tools that we have available to us now, they're just tools. So they don't take, they don't take the place of anything else completely. We still need to go personally, if we can, to talk to legislators, because the personal thing is always going to be something that's very important. But it's another tool in our toolbox that's really powerful. So I would encourage everybody to look at what tools we have available to us to stay involved with our legislative process, and check out the hashtag #NVLeg during the legislative sessions. Actually, in 2011, one of the jokes at the end of legislative session is they usually dub somebody like the lobbyist of the year, and the joke was that lobbyist of the year was Twitter, because that was what was used the most often for questions to be asked during hearings that were being, that were being had over different laws that were being discussed. So these things are really, they're really powerful. Our voices are still really powerful. I know that it feels there's so much money in the political process right now, and I'm not going to downplay that, but we have to, even more than ever before, come together and speak out and let our voices be louder than the money that's being poured out there. Because it's going to take a lot of us being out there in whatever way we can to pass something like the Equal Rights Amendment, to allow power to be shared equally, because, as was just said from the previous speaker, it benefits everybody. It doesn't just benefit women, it benefits our entire society, because what we need is people, whatever your sex or gender is, doing what you are most, gifted at doing. And the only way we can do that is if we allow people the opportunity to be supported and rewarded for doing those things. And our society will be stronger for everybody, regardless of your sex or gender, based on everybody being given the opportunity to contribute what their greatest gifts are. So the Equal Rights Amendment is something that will actually strengthen our entire society. And it's kind of sad to me to see this hold on of power that I feel like really hurts all of us. It really hurts people. And it hurts the people that are holding on to the power just as much as it hurts all the rest of us. So this whole 99.1% kind of thing, I get that completely. But those people at the top, they're hurting themselves as well. So I feel like, it's time for us to all come together and forward the society for everybody. It's going to benefit everybody. So, I love the quote from the woman who wrote the Equal Rights Amendment. Yes, that is correct. She what now? Ah, okay. So Alice Paul said, and I love this quote, and I think it's completely appropriate still to this day. The movement is a sort of mosaic, talking about the Equal Rights Amendment movement. Each of us puts in one little stone, and then you get a great mosaic at the end. So never feel like you're too small. Never feel like your part, any little thing that you can do, regardless of your schedule, is going to be too small, because we need all of it. We need all of our voices at whatever little part that you can do, and never feel like what you can do isn't enough. Anything that you're doing is putting one little stone in to help further everybody forward in the society. So, as Marjorie said, my name is Jennifer Reed. I'm a PhD student at UNLV in sociology. I just want to give you a little bit of my backstory as far as I'm from rural Ohio, northeastern rural Ohio. I was born in Appalachian County. I had my first child at 17, so I was very young. I never quite fit the quote unquote female stereotyped gender role, kind of, feminine gender role. I made a very conscious decision to wear pants today, not because I don't like skirts, but because I've come to appreciate that I have the option to wear pants today. So I decided to do that because it should be our choice whether we do that or not. So I wanted to take that choice into my hand today. And to always appreciate those choices that we have now. And I agree with that this younger generation, I'm concerned that they're not about their thinking that we already have won equality, and seeing all this pushback happening, and that no, we haven't won equality. We need to keep pushing. And I'm also concerned with that feminism has become a bad word to a lot of people. Feminism started out just meaning that, you know, we want equality. We want equal rights and equal respect, regardless of sex or gender. That is what feminism meant in the beginning. And now there's all these other things that have been tied to the word feminism. You know, the feminazi, these women that, you know, want everything and they want to push men down. And that's not where feminism started. But I understand how the word has gotten so much baggage attached to it at this point, that younger people are really getting turned away from the term feminism. So I'm not sure how we can come up with a different word. Women's liberty. That's okay. So I mean that's a possibility. I still think some people, you know, carry certain baggage with that terminology. So I don't know what's the best kind of term that we can use, because I think we need to get past all the baggage that's there and get back to the core of what it meant with equal rights, equal respect for people, no matter, you know, regardless of your sex or gender, and that the Equal Rights Amendment would do a huge service to us to uphold this constitutionally, so that we're guaranteed it by the Constitution. So again, a little bit with my background, like I said, I never quite fit the gender role. I was the tomboy growing up. I wanted to play football. I used to play football at recess with the boys, and then I wanted to play football for the team in grade school, and I was told that I needed to try out for cheerleading. Cheerleading to me didn't seem a whole lot like football. I didn't quite get that. They seemed like very different things. So I did cheer for a little while and couldn't quite figure out why I was being told to cheer rather than play football, because it didn't seem like anything like it. And there were people that would cheer for the wrong team because they didn't know the difference between offense and defense, so I didn't cheer for very long either. But I didn't understand why I would be directed a lot of times one path because I was born female. I was made to take home ec and not allowed to take SWOP. I mean, that was still, I was in a rural area, and that was still the way things were done. And I'm glad to see a lot of that has broken down today. But again, my kids are grown, and my daughter didn't grow up in that world, so she still has a hard time when I talk about some of this stuff, understanding that that happened not too long ago, and that there's people that are still trying to push back to, you know, traditional gender role kind of stereotype, you know, for people to be enforced in our society. So we need to keep moving forward, and a big step forward would be ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment. So again, with a little bit of my background, I also I had 2 children by the time I was in college. And when I started, it was in my junior year in college, I started looking into going to graduate school. I was talked to by my advisor about applying to a master's program. And being from a rural, you know, pretty poor background, it wasn't something that I, you know, had really thought about being feasible for me. It was something that was kind of like, that would be cool, but I didn't really know that it would be feasible, and particularly that being the woman thing. And so I had somebody approach me and talk to me about applying for graduate school. And so I started looking into the opportunities, and I did apply for graduate school. But at this time, my male partner felt very threatened by my doing so, which I was surprised, because he knew that this was something that I was always, you know, interested in doing. But he told me that he thought it was just a pipe dream, and he didn't think I would ever really do it, that I would realize that I was a good mother, and that's all I needed, and that he would take care of me. So it wasn't long before we split up, as the relationship became more abusive, as I wouldn't give up on going further on in school. So I just think that these kind of things, and I don't blame him as an individual person, but our society, as far as the pressure put on men to uphold their gender role, you know, what I realized later, we talk now, but it was not so much that he wanted to hold me back as that he felt that I was, you know, emasculating him by wanting to do this for myself, which is something I always wanted to do. And it had nothing to do with my relationship with him or thinking any less of him as a person or wanting to leave him. I was very happy in the relationship. So these kind of gender roles are harmful to everybody. So I'm just, I'm speaking from my story, my experience, and why this has meant so much to me and why I fight for this today. Because I don't want this for my kids. I don't want this. I have two young grandsons now that are 1 and 3 years old, and I want to see a different world for them as well. So I just want to say thank you very much. And what do we want? When do we want it? All right, so get out there for the 2015 legislative session and let people know that's what we want. Thank you very much.